From K2 News, this is breaking news.
Right now here on Breaking News, a stunning turn of events for the race to the White House. Today, President Joe Biden says that he is ending his re-election campaign. What this means for the party with just weeks to go before the Democratic National Convention. And lawmakers and locals alike are reacting to that news today. What we're learning about the decision's fallout and how people in our area are comprehending this historic moment. Plus, parents are voicing concern after a deadly shooting in Northeast Portland near a school and park. What they're demanding from the city tonight. This is all on K2 News at 5 and starts now.
From K2 News, this is breaking news.
That breaking news, a monumental move. President Joe Biden announcing that he will drop out of the 2024 race for the White House. He says that he believes it is in the best interest of his party and country to end his campaign. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us for K2 News at 5 on this historic Sunday. I'm Barry Mangold. President Biden is putting all his full faith and support behind Vice President Kamala Harris, endorsing her in his stead. We have team coverage of this moment for you tonight and its potential fallout. We have politics professor Jim Moore standing by to break down some of the big questions facing the Democratic Party tonight. K2's Victor Park is looking into how our community is responding to all this. But first, we're going to send it to national correspondent Kayla Gaskins for a breakdown of what we know about Biden's decision so far.
After weeks of mounting pressure from his own party, following the poor debate performance, Joe Biden stepping down from the top of the ticket.
It is time to pass the torch so that we can have our best chance of winning in November.
The announcement made Sunday afternoon on social media. Joe Biden posting a letter to his personal accounts that reads in part, "While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the interest of my party and the country for me to stand down."
I'm emotional because I am still riding with Biden. I still support my president.
In a follow-up post, he gave Vice President Kamala Harris his full endorsement as heir apparent to the nomination. The president making it clear he plans to serve the rest of his term. Donald Trump responding to the news on Truth Social, writing, "Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve." CNN reporting Trump thinks Kamala Harris will be easier to beat. House Speaker Mike Johnson demanding Joe Biden resign immediately. Earlier in the day, Johnson saying this to CNN.
It's an interesting question, Jake. If he's incapable of running for president, how is he capable of governing right now? I mean, there is 5 months left in this administration. It's a real concern, and it's a danger to the country.
President Biden spent the past week secluded in Delaware recovering from COVID-19, reportedly growing increasingly furious as top Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama flaked on their support. For weeks, Democrat mega-donors expressed concerns over Biden's ability to do the job, some withholding donations, fueling alarm among party leaders. As the pressure increased, Democrats began preparing for a potential Kamala Harris run should she end up as the nominee. An effort reportedly underway to vet who could run as her vice president. Kamala Harris releasing a statement saying, "I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination." Even with Biden's endorsement, Kamala Harris faces an uncertain path. The Democratic convention in Chicago, which starts August 19th, could be an open contest rather than a coronation. The nearly 4,700 delegates picking who they want to put up against Donald Trump this November. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
And former president and Republican nominee Donald Trump quickly seized on President Biden's decision to back out of the race. In a post on his social media site, Truth Social, the former president laid into Biden, saying that he's not fit to serve and never was. Trump also accused Biden's doctor and the media of hiding the president's physical and mental condition, adding that he will remedy the, quote, damage done by Biden's presidency. And President Biden's campaign took a tailspin in a matter of about 3 weeks. Here's a closer look at what's led up to today's announcement. It was June 27th when the candidates met on stage to debate. The 81-year-old often trailed off and gave nonsensical answers. Biden's disastrous performance led to the first Democratic lawmaker publicly calling on him to step down on July 2nd. More lawmakers joined the chorus, and the president held his first solo press conference in months on July 11th, addressing the mounting concerns, but vowing to stay in the race. That came during the NATO alliance's annual summit. Former President Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt that weekend at a rally in Pennsylvania. Biden condemned the violence and called for unity. California Congressman Adam Schiff becomes the highest-profile lawmaker to call on Biden to drop out of the race on July 17th. Many Democrats voiced concerns that Biden's candidacy would impact races up and down the ticket. That same day, President Biden tested positive for COVID-19, ratcheting up concerns about his age and health. He traveled to Delaware to self-isolate. Meanwhile, Republicans held their national convention in Milwaukee, uniting the party behind Donald Trump and VP pick J.D. Vance. That brings us to today, and President Biden issuing a statement bowing out of the race, throwing his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. And now that we are caught up, I want to continue our team coverage with Jim Moore, politics professor at Pacific University. Jim, thanks so much for coming in today.
Another historic day.
Another historic weekend, back-to-back for us. So first, I want to start by looking forward. The Democratic National Convention starts on August 19th. What needs to be done between now and then?
There are a lot of delegates talking to a lot of people. We've heard that there's already petitions for Kamala Harris that are circulating among them. The Tennessee delegation has unanimously endorsed Harris. Others are kind of sitting back and waiting and seeing, but there's a lot of conversation going on. And remember, it's not August 19th. They have to meet a deadline of 2 weeks from now to get on the Ohio ballot. So it's even tighter.
Yeah, really tight timeline to work with. Last month, or earlier this year rather, both Democrats in Oregon and Washington voted to support Biden as the Democratic nominee for president. Obviously, that's no longer an option. Will voters get another chance to voice their opinion on this?
No. It's all up to the delegates. And the delegates were chosen in Oregon by Democratic Party members about the 1st of June, and then the rest of them were chosen towards the end of June. And so that's the group that's going to make the decision.
Gotcha. And as we heard there, we know that President Biden has already endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to be his replacement as the Democratic nominee. Could we see another Democrat candidate emerge in the next 2 weeks or a month?
Absolutely, but I don't think they have 2 weeks or a month. I think they have a matter of days. Right now, endorsements are piling in for Kamala Harris. If you're a Gavin Newsom, for instance, you need to have a group together and you need to say now, tomorrow, or Tuesday, I'm in. If not, I think it just goes towards Harris.
Really quick, who are you looking out for in terms of other potential candidates?
Well, we've already heard that Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, her spokesperson has said, no, she has a job. She isn't going to go for this one. Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, endorsed Harris today. So we're beginning to winnow here. So Gavin Newsom may be the only player in town.
Okay, all right. Jim Moore, thank you so much. We'll be talking to you again at 6 o'clock, so don't go anywhere. Thank you again. And now we do want to talk about Governor Tina Kotek, because today we asked her for her reaction to President Biden's departure today. While she was on a tour of a wildfire scene, she would not comment in person. This is what she said as she was walking away.
Can we ask you about President Biden while you're here?
I made my statement. That's all I have for the day. So
you sure?
That's all I have. Thank you.
And here's what she said in that statement now. In a tweet, Governor Tina Kotek thanked President Biden for his decades of leadership and said Oregon and the whole country are so much better off today, safer, healthier, and more secure because of Joe Biden's years of service. And local lawmakers have been weighing in on this all day today. We've asked all of them for interviews, but were denied. Earlier this month, Oregon Congressman Earl Blumenauer said that he did not think that Biden should be the nominee. Today, he released a statement that reads in part, quote, "He made the right decision to spend the remainder of his presidency implementing his landmark achievements rather than fighting a campaign against Donald Trump. I am encouraged that President Biden can devote his full attention to this work. Now we must refocus our efforts on defending our democracy and defeating Trump in November." Meanwhile, Washington Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez also told Katu that at the beginning of July that she thought Biden would lose to Trump. Today, she said in part, quote, "My job is to represent everyone in Southwest Washington, and most of them do not have confidence in the president's fitness to serve. They deserve to have their confidence restored." That was, again, Congresswoman Gluesenkamp Perez. And Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon thanked President Biden in a statement, along with sharing this message: "I'm all in to support Vice President Harris with all my energy to go forward, building on that impressive record and defeating Donald Trump." And for more on our team coverage, let's get to K2's Victor Park, who joins us from our live desk now. And Victor, you're hearing from Portlanders about what they thought about hearing that Biden was dropping out. What did they say?
Yeah, so many of us were out and about and saw some people on their phones as soon as this news broke. But a K2 crew was covering the Pride Fest just minutes after that news broke, and we spoke to some attendees. Now, half a dozen people we spoke to happened to be Democrats. We are working to get some of those Republican voters, but meanwhile, we did hear from other people who basically said that they were kind of surprised. But listen to this person's response as we asked him about his thoughts on Biden's announcement.
Terrified. Honestly, it's really scary. The last, 8+ years have been pretty uncertain, and we've definitely gone through a lot. So any rocking of the boat is pause for concern.
Some say they were expecting this to happen based on the mounting political pressure within the Democratic Party. Others said they believed it needed to happen for Democrats to defeat former President Trump as a Republican nominee. Take a listen.
I think it's unfortunate, but he made the right call. It's a really hard decision. I think it will be his lasting legacy because he did step down.
We also asked about the time of President Biden's decision. At least one person said he thinks Biden should have made that decision 2 years ago. Another said it was the right decision for Biden to step down after the Republican National Convention. Again, a lot of mixed reaction, but no doubt it's sparking a lot of conversations and opinions. Coming up at 6, we're going to hear people's thoughts on Kamala Harris's decision to enter the race. At the Live Desk, I'm Victor Park, K2 News.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Victor. Thank you. This is, of course, a breaking news story that is actively developing. We'll be updating you as soon as we learn more. Coming up at 6, we'll hear how former President Barack Obama responded to Biden's announcement, plus other reaction from Oregon's congressional delegation. We're also closely following the 2024 presidential race on our website, katu.com. Be sure to follow us there online for ongoing and in-depth coverage.